going into the conference season?
Well, it does. Conference games always have a different vibe and a different feel to them. And so first of all, we need a great crowd. I mean, it's a Saturday afternoon. You can go Christmas shopping afterwards. And now, we played it nice and early enough that, you can have a whole day. So they always, Air Force always presents a unique set of problems. And the way they play is so unique. And, so it can be a really, really tough, especially mental game because of all the stuff that you have to see and things that are different that you have to see.
I know you've done that a couple years ago. I remember you played like early December because of a convention or something in Vegas, but playing a pre-Christmas conference game, I guess, just a little different feel, I guess.
Yeah, through my career, I've had some of those. I remember, way back in the day, we played some November games back in the Pac-12, and wow. Yeah, that was crazy. But I like it that we were able to close the book on the preseason and then move on. It doesn't really matter that as basketball coaches and players, we kind of have to just play through Christmas a little bit. We get a few days off, but not much. And so it does have we ended the preseason, and now it's time to move on to league, and that's our mindset.
Getting a true home and home now with every team in the conference, just what does that do for the competitive balance in the Mountain West?
Yeah, I mean, there was always that where, you're playing for a league title, but you didn't have competitive balance in who you played, and it made a big difference. I remember that COVID year, we played, even though you were no fans, we played 4 of the top 5 on the road.
For 2 games.
For 2 games. So 8 of our 10 games against the best teams were on the road. So there was, that was a skewed competitive balance. But, through the years, when you didn't play 20 games, there was big advantages, disadvantages. And I think there was some of that last year even. You always could make a case for it when you don't play 20. But now you play 20, you take that out of the equation. It did, our league had done some great things in the non-league in the years prior, and that's why we were, a lot of the coaches wanted less league games. So, I got both sides of the argument. I get it. But now with more leagues going to more games, it's almost that you have to play a lot of league games otherwise, because there's just not enough inventory out there to go get great games.
What do you think of the league where it sits right now compared to last year?
It's hard to tell, Bob, because it's one of those things, you watch them on tape, and until you go and play them all, you're like, it's hard to tell who's better than they were last year, who's not. Plus, there's always those situations where some teams maybe start playing better in January, and you see that a lot. And I mean, you saw that last year with UNLV. I mean, they were one of the best teams in the league when it came to league play. Preseason, they really struggled. So that one's a hard one to see clearly right now until you run the league.
What about numbers-wise, in terms of, you guys had so many opportunities for like quad 1, quad 2 games in league last year, and didn't get credit for them, but just
right.
How do you feel?
Right, that's the thing about the stupid net. There's some teams that I'm looking at that and they're like, wait, that team has not won a quad 1 game or a quad 2 game. They haven't won one, and their net is in the 30s, because they ran up the score at home on a bunch of bad teams, or somebody that they were a lot better than. And so it's just, there's so many flaws in just that number system that you can't get too caught up in that. You just gotta, you start looking at that and overanalyze it, and you're like, you just gotta be like, forget it. You just gotta go do your own work, and that's what we focus on, is just do your own work. You guys hash out all that stuff, the goofy stuff, but it always seems like they'll try to rationalize, well, you got 7 road wins, but they were all the league, well, why? What does that matter? They were good teams that you beat. And so that's out the door, out our minds. Our job is the one right in front of us, and that's the Air Force that is always a really, really hard team to play.
What's it like to sit down and look at like a R.J. Keene stat line after a game? Because you're like, only 4 points or whatever, but then you're like, 10 rebounds and 5 offensive rebounds and 4 assists. Like, what's it like to kind of, just process his
Well,
his
we've
stat
got
line?
a whole system of evaluation that's not based on points, and or just points, or that's great. You need all those things, but those intangibles and those winning plays that we talk about and that we show our team a lot, those are so valuable. And RJ's doing that at a high level. And when you look at my history here, we've always had guys that have been able to do that. Rob Heyer, Jeff Luriaga, Max did a lot of that. Where it's just those intangibles that maybe the world doesn't see, and sometimes coaches don't see it. That's the hard thing about players like that. They get misevaluated some. And when you start really digging in, you figure out, well, that's why a lot of teams win, because they have guys like that. And what he's doing for the team is just awesome.
I know how highly you guys think of Alvaro. So when you're a new guy by nature, you probably want to fit in, right? And you saw like in the second half of the game the other night, like it didn't look like he was fitting in. It looked like he was trying to take over the game there for a little bit. So to have him almost be kind of that wrecking ball, was there anything said at halftime, or how much do you need him to be that guy?
Yeah, no, he is. That's his personality. That's what I love about him. It's natural, And sometimes you just find guys like that are just natural leaders. They walk in a room, it's their room. And, I've met a lot of guys like that in my lifetime, and he's got that. And but he does it in a way that's really, really productive. He does it in a way that's respected by his peers and by the coaches, and he's just got a competitive fire, and he's a hard worker and never wants to, so everybody will listen when a guy like that takes leadership, and he's a good one.
You've got a number of folks that haven't played against Air Force before.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get them quickly up to speed?
Yeah,
At least Cardenas has played against them.
Yeah, exactly. That is always the challenge, because a big part of the Air Force thing, and we've done good things against them and we've done bad things against them, and you just learn through the processes. But you gotta. There's a certain amount of things you have to be able to do, but you don't want your guys overthinking, and so that's always a fine line between that. You got to just be able to play basketball, but if you're not thinking they can make you look foolish.
How impressive was that alley-oop? I mean, Alvaro threw it at the freaking rafters, and Omar went and got that.
Yeah, that's good, because there's a synergy developing there, and what I'm seeing too is we're starting to make each other better by letting each other play to each other's strengths and helping each individual play to his strengths. And we got Meadow more good looks. We got we're getting the ball to the right guys in the right spots and making the game easier for them. And that's the synergy that we've been looking for. And some of it just has to come through getting reps together and playing together more. And that I think we're seeing a growth there.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.